Alright, we're good to go on Twitch, and I think YouTube is up too. Yep, alright. So, everyone, this is Will from my friend Productions². We're going to get right into it. So, it's going to be kind of a dual stream, if you will. We're going to be doing KSP a little bit later, but I also want to jump in and do some, just kind of update you on what's going on with OV. So, last night, I did a pretty long stream, about 6 hours or so, and we got to a point where I just couldn't figure out what to do because there was like an issue somehow. Well, I finally figured out what the issue. Well, I didn't figure out what the issue was, but I figured out how to deal with it. So the other thing was I managed to finally build this damn thing in the debug version of it, so I was able to get into the code and see what was going on. So let me just let's talk about how we had this set up before. So before, what would happen is there was this blueprint that we had created called dbload, and in this we had some functions that were called. We created a database handler class object in this and set it to the variable we have in here, and then we used that variable to then pass that to the user interface, so that the user interface could do a check on the database, connect to it, and try and open it with this here. Well, I got rid of it. Okay. No. I mean, it was basically it. We did a get all actors of class DB loader, pulled out the DB handler variable from that, set it to the DB handler variable from the UI, then used that to call the DB open to do the test on the database. So that was fine and everything. Then the issue came in when we wanted to then do other things in other places with it, which is where the player, the flying pawn comes into play. So in this, we had this whole little slice of heaven here, where we go through, we get into the, actually we don't even need this anymore. So we go through, we get the, we create a HUD widget, set it to the HUD ref of, main HUD ref of the, of our pawn here. And then what we did, what I had doing before then was taking from the HUD ref the DB database handler instance and trying to pass it into the inventory. So the inventory class used to have a function that I could use to set the database handler instance using a parameter passer. Problem was that every time I tried to pass something into there, and this is what I found out when I actually got the ability to debug the code through the debug editor, was that it was coming in as null. So that's why we're having all those issues with the text not being displayed properly from the inventory, because at that point the database handler was null. We were getting data back, but when we tried to we tried to pass this through back over into here for the update inventory, everything just went to hell because it was a null pointer. They didn't throw any errors when it should have, but it just basically crapped everything out. Or no, we didn't. I was looking at the wrong thing for that. But somehow or some way, I can't exactly remember how. I've re-engineered the code so many times, and the blueprints. I don't exactly remember how I had them set up originally. And then I thought maybe, well, no. So the issue was that when we called back the inventory, the env items T array, it was always empty for whatever reason. And I can't recall what I did to fix that, but I have fixed it. Then to try and fix that, because I thought maybe there was something going on with the the instances not being set up correctly or whatever, because I was thinking, okay, maybe the HUDREF that we're using, so we were creating a new, or not HUDREF, the database handler instance that we're using, so we're creating one in inventory setup originally instead of passing one through. Maybe that there is an issue with that, and maybe we should pass through the one from the UI because it's already been opened, and we can get data. That's what it was. Now I remember now. We were creating our own thing. We were not opening it, but at the same time, because we weren't opening it, it wasn't pulling any data back, even though the way we had originally had it set up, we were getting data back. But I had done something different. I can't remember what that was though. But when I made that slight change to create a database handler instance inside of the inventory, that's when that stopped working, and that's why. And then I tried to, having realized that, I tried to connect the HUDREF DB handler instance into inventory by passing it, and that led me down a whole rabbit hole of just nonsense, basically. Because every time I pass through that reference, or that instance to the blueprint variable, it would always have a null pointer on it for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. It's probably because you cannot pass through a blueprint variable instance like that to a C++ class and have it passed correctly. So, like I said, probably 13 changes to the blueprints later and a hell of a lot of recoding, trying to fix things various ways. I decided, okay, let's take a step back and let's kind of rethink how we wanted to design this. Instead of having some, global database handler class that's being passed around, because we don't really need that. We will need something like that in the future, but there's probably a different way to go about it, like pulling it from the some struct or some function somewhere that reaches into the actual game environment and pulls out stuff that way, instead of trying to pass it through the blueprintable function or a blueprint callable function. But instead of doing that, because we don't need that for the database, all we need to do is be able to open it, be able to query the data we want, and be able to close it. Then be able to process that data into whatever we need to have it be, and then send it off to where the request came from. That's all we need to do with it. So I decided, okay, we're gonna rip out all that extra crap that we don't need, and we're just gonna make this simpler, which is what I did. And so what I did is basically everything that needs to have a database that could possibly need to call the database to get data is going to have its own kind of self-contained instance kind of thing. So what'll happen is this. We will create the instance of the class in the blueprint, or wherever we need to, but in this case it's in the blueprint. Then we'll call this the setup function. I'll make one for every one of them. That'll set up whatever, initialize whatever T arrays we need, or whatever variables we need, or whatever references we need, and then call those references setup functions to do their reference setups if they have them. So like in this case, we create a new object, uDataHandler, save it as a data handler. Then we use that to access data handler's setup database handler function, which in turn sets up a new object, a new database handler object. And now when I step through the code, this DB handle always has a pointer. It's never a null pointer anymore. And the end result is that we now get data on the screen in that section that we need it on. So like if I do play real quick. Okay, I added in the line terminators. I've been trying to figure out how to get this stupid thing to go to new lines, but I don't think there's a way to do it. But yeah, so we got our data here from the database, so it's awesome. The next step is going to be actually probably trying to take this and tiling it somehow in a list, a vertical list or something. And I think we'll try and do that right now. We'll just try that one thing, try to figure out that one thing, and then we'll switch over to KSP. I don't plan for this to take a long time, so if it looks like it's going to take a while, longer than what I think it's going to, then we shall just cut our losses and switch over to KSP. So when I was looking at different things that we could use to do that, one of the things I pulled up was this list view, which allows you to essentially, display data in a certain format. So what I need to figure out is how to use this. For example, selection mode single, that's fine. Or we can say none. Consume mouse wheel when scrolling possible. Clear selection on click. Entry widget class. So if you look at the, so if there's no entry widget class specified in the list, there is no. Even if doing custom stuff, there always has a fallback. So what I need to do is we need to go look up the documentation or a tutorial on this list view. Let me switch over to this, and I've got fair whack of tabs again opened up. So UE4 list view tutorial. Well, that's just this stuff. That's not what I want. So this kind of looks like what maybe we want here. All right, so main widget, which is the UI, which we have. Add a variable enabled scroll box. Secondary list item widget. Drag in a text block. Right click, wrap with button. Create the bind BP function, bind the buttons on click event. Is this actually like a literal... I think this is a user-created tutorial, because this doesn't really meet the quality level that I would think of being created from somebody from Epic. Maybe we can find a video tutorial. So we have a list view. We have an item list, target, inventory. So item list is the list view name. You don't add the widgets directly. Just create an object blueprint, which will contain the data you want. And when adding the item to the list, you construct that object and add it. Then your widget, you'll make an entry. Are you kidding me? This thing seems like it's super complicated. Way more complicated than it should be. So, event on list item set, list item object. Cast to U file icon data. Yeah, this is actually doing something a little more, because we're not going to use an icon on these, so we don't need that. All right, let's take a look. Let's see if this is. Well, that's kind of interesting. Horizontal text box. Well, it's kind of sort of not what we want. Damn. Oh, God. One thing you have to do when you look for any tutorials on UE4 is you have to go in and you have to say anytime, well, past year, because you'll find all kinds of frickin' old crap that no longer applies. Like, I don't think List View existed back in 2014. That's why you have all these scroll box versions of this. Yeah, okay, sure thing. Problem is that's in code. I don't want to do code. I want to see if we can do this all in the blueprint somehow. It's all code documentation. So, sequence 0, then 1. Okay, cool. I'll need to remember that. That'll help keep my blueprints a little less messy. So, which one? This is the list. So, create a widget. Add to viewport, add item. So, target server name. Ignore a lot of gibberish here. Object type set as tree widget class. So quest item, quest name, target, set text, quest name, on list item, object set. So on ticket quest name from quest item, return value, quest name. Okay, quest name is a, I guess a variable, I suppose. Set, and then Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than I want to do right now. Should just be able to just like throw a list into it and just should take that and do whatever with it, but guess that'd be too easy. So maybe what we'll do is get a vertical text box. And not put it inside of whatever that is. That's the text area. Alright, so that's going to break the blueprint, but that's fine. Ah, come on. They gotta make a better way of moving this crap. Because it doesn't show the movement handle. So I'm just going to extend it down fair ways. So what I'm going to do now is we'll call this inventory box. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and dynamically create a text widget and load it into this thing through the blueprint. Or let's just say this. Insert a text widget into a vertical box. Let's go anytime, even though I'm probably asking for it. Adding text to a widget blueprint. This one looks a little more promising. Okay, so it adds it to the bottom. I see. So, notification add. So we have our, well, this is a grid panel. So we'd loop over the inventory. Add child to grid. Grid panel 419. Create a whatever you want to call that. It's a custom widget or something. So what we could try to do is, so we have this. Let's go to our. Let's compile it first. We'll go to the graph. We'll need to. We don't need this anymore, so let's go ahead and delete it. Won't need these anymore either. So, create widget. So I guess we need to have a, do we have to have like a base widget to use or something? It looks like we do. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. User interface, blueprint. Call this inv_list item. And all it's going to be is, I guess, it's a text item. I don't even know if it matters where it goes to. Text will pull out. We're going to bind that to a variable real quick. We'll call this move name, or item name, I guess. We could also bind it to a uItem, I suppose. But that'll be for later on. We do need to compile so that I can see it. Compile again. Let's just go back over to our HUD. So create that. We want to set text. So basically we just want to pull this out and say set env name. Wait, we'll do with a and then after that's completed, they do this. So return value set text. Wait, is that yeah, it should be visible. Oh, it's item name. I don't know what I was trying to put in. ITM name set ITM name. There we go. That's going to be this value. And then add child to grid. So we want to add child to maybe we need to get a reference from the, let's see, so get, so how do we get this, is variable, that's how, so invoice, inbox, I guess, actually. Get in box and then add child to vertical box. And then that'll be this, I think. And then I guess that's all we have to do. No errors or anything. Let's see what happens. Aha, there you go. Boom. And now we have all the stuff shown up there. So that's kind of a rudimentary inventory list uItem instance, and then we will pull the uItem instance out of the list instead of calling just that get name function, and then we can call the data we want to from there to build the components. But good, so there we go. And just to make sure, absolutely sure that's actually working. I know it's working, but it'd be nice to do one extra thing just to make absolutely sure. Let's add a new item in here real quick. And we're going to go to resources, and we're going to do, I'm just going to do a plus to insert a new record. So name is going to be, okay, and we'll go ahead and close this so we don't lock it. Platinum ore. Boom. Alright, cool. Awesome. It is working. That is nice. And that was a lot faster. Though, I'm probably going to... Well, it'll probably be the tile view. Well, it depends, I guess, on what we're looking at. But it's probably going to be the tile view for the inventory. The list tile view thing. Again, I'll have to learn how to actually use those things because they seem pretty complicated for what should be a really simple thing. Yeah, tile view. Okay, so I'm gonna close. Let me go ahead and close all this crap down. Save selected, so we can free up some much needed memory here. I just close all these. Close that. Close this. Close this. Don't need that. I'll leave Epic going, I guess. Okay, now, I need to take a look at OBS. So let's go ahead and turn off the display capture, turn on the chat capture, and then KSP. And then I need to start KSP. Actually, I can just do it from CCAN, can't I? Actually, I want to also check to make sure there's no updates. Let's see. That was interesting. It didn't actually show the entire thing. So Better Time Warp has an update. What else does? So Interstellar Few Core Switch, Science Realert Realerted, and Better Warp continued. I'll go ahead and update those. Okay, so what we'll be doing tonight is we will see about getting some more parts up to the moon. More base parts. First thing we're going to do is we're going to design a couple new things we're going to need. We're going to set up a battery section and a solar collector section, as well as we're going to try and design some connector parts to be able to connect the things together with. Alright. Again, these connector parts will just make it so that we don't have to have the base sections right up against each other. Make it easier to get them placed. I want to wait till this part gets done loading on KSP so I can move the window. Sometimes if I try to move before this part is done, it'll crap out. There we go. Just want to realign this so this is not over the edge there. It doesn't really matter no matter where I put the KSP window, it's always going to be in the same spot on the stream, but I don't want it covering this chat section. Alright, so now we get to wait. Delaying launches because Jeb and the rest of them are... Yes, this is what happens when you test your springs. They cause nuclear explosions. Like I said, these descriptions down here will... Yeah, like this guy's like, oh my god, we forgot the letters. It's hilarious. Some of these match up really nice. Some of them don't so much. Well, I guess maybe hyperspeed barrel rolls, but... Packing toothbrushes. Nah, doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that well on that one. Kind of, sort of, except that's not E, that's Duno. Specifying impulse. Fist bumping for science, apparently. I was going to make a comment about Wesley Crusher specifying the impulse, but... What the hell? It's like stuck on these two loading screens now. It's kind of funny. I guess they get selected at random. It's not like because I've never seen the same progression twice. Adding more struts. Never visiting dress. Which is a real thing, stirring oxygen tanks. I believe what that does is it makes sure that the connections between the tanks and the vessel are clear. Jim's going to be counting backwards a long time. Reverting to lunch. That one works pretty well. It's like, oh my god, what's happening? Go back to lunch. Spelunking on Tylo. Yeah, kind of works. Yeah, Borderlands 3, it looks like it's going to be insane. 1 billion guns. That's how many guns are going to be in 3. And they showed off like this one gun that has legs on it. I mean, I thought Loaderbot was insane. Yeah, like when you throw him onto the weapon, insane. But I think they're going to go over the top of this one. Frankly, it kind of feels like they're aiming for the end of the franchise with this. We'll see. They're kind of like pulling out all the stops. They're even bringing in the Tales from the Borderland people in. At least Reese and Vaughn were in the trailer. I think somebody said they might have seen Fiona in there somewhere too. Doing science. Doing barrel rolls for science. Clearing Launchpad after doing barrel rolls for science. It's a nice progression of loading messages. Yeah, I need to go and play, just play from the beginning, Borderlands 1 and 2 again. I didn't finish either of them, so. I got pretty far in both, though. Borderlands, the sequel, not so much. I don't know what it was about that game, I just couldn't get into it. I mean, I probably got something like, I'll say 15, 20 hours into it, but those are some pretty hard 15, 20 hours of gameplay. Just trying to give it every possible opportunity to pull me in, and it never really did. The story wasn't quite... Well, to be fair, though, the story on Borderlands games aren't really that good in general. It's more about the what happens in between or story locations. Like the random super badass mutant or something popping out of nowhere and owning you or something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this going. Put together those two modules I was talking about. First, though, let's go ahead and create those connectors. Well, we'll need to get the subassembly. Well, actually, two of them out, the base core subassemblies, and see what we can make with that. So, core doesn't really matter as long as we get two of them. All right, so. It's going to be either structural or coupling or something, or maybe could also be maybe underneath utility. That's a little bit large. This might work though. Oh, we can't scale it though. Crap. Probably need to be able to scale it. Let's see. I'd really hate to do like a fuel tank, but maybe we have to go that way. There's got to be some structural bits we can use somehow. Yeah, here we go. We can use something like this. Junior on these. So, to make a subassembly for this. That's not quite what I wanted. Actually do that, we'll pull this one off and stick it on the back here. So yeah, that'll work. So now what we need to do is we'll need to reroute. Actually, we'll need one more of these, now that I think about it. And that'll be the root. And then what we'll do is pull this off, and that'll be a subassembly. So I'll call it base core adapters, I guess. Sounds better than connectors or something like that. Probably can make this a bit better, more even. Alright, that works a bit better. So, what we'll do is, we'll get rid of, well, first, let's reconnect this. And we'll connect this onto here. Actually, no, we need to get rid of this. And we'll pull out our subassembly again. Then we'll pull out our base core adapter. So essentially how this would work is so we'd have this. Let's say I wanted to go to one ladder. Well, the main issue now is that this is trying to become the so we need to reroute this whole thing. There we go. So select this and that. Then do that again. Okay, now we can pull this off. This is just so I can show you what it would look like. Oh, come on. Hook up, damn it. What would these two things connect for? See, the top section will, this bottom section won't, though. It's very odd. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this thing. Well, let me attach it properly, but that's kind of the idea. So you'd have this thing, you'd bring it up either in a container or attached. Somewhere, and then you would take the Kerbals and attach them to this, and then bring in your other base core and stick it on there. Then that would be able to transfer electricity and other stuff through it. So what we're going to do now is I want to go ahead and bring back in the base core here real quick. The one with the 4 docking ports. Oh, we'll leave that open. So now we need to pull some stuff off of here. We want to keep that. We want to keep these. We're getting rid of those. And instead what we're going to put in here is batteries. So it's going to be our battery storage kind of section. So we need to go to electrical, and we need to go to here and scale it up. Well, here's another question though. Well, it doesn't matter actually. The size really doesn't matter. It's this part. Well, the size matters in terms of like. Yeah, it's like almost 1.8 mil electric charge right there. It's like more than you'll ever need. So this will be our battery storage section here. Let's go ahead and create a subassembly of that. I'll say base core. We'll say electric storage. Okay, let's pull this one off again. Pull this off. And this one's going to be our we're going to turn off the how do I turn off the oh, it's part of that then. Okay, it's part of the command pod. We'll just do 2 of them though. And we're going to rotate. It is I, Mothman. So, how much did these bring in again? I can get the friggin' interstellar helper out of the way. Right, 42 a second. It's the charge. So we'll have those there. We're gonna need more though, because that's a lot of battery to fill. We'll need like along the top we'll use our we'll use the other ones. On the side we'll do some of these on the bottom. And these along wherever we can stick them. Actually, could probably get away with doing them underneath that, because these are low profile. They're not going to cause any 6x1. Retractables here. So these are going to be our solar collector sections here. All right. Okay, let's go and attach this back on the bottom. My only main concern is how heavy these might be. We'll have to see how they work out. So, base core. Solar array. Okay, so there's that. We'll go ahead and start with those. So let's go ahead and get rid of this whole thing. And let's go ahead and open up the lifter stage. Oh, right. Well, actually, first we should probably try and do another refueler attempt. Now what I'm gonna do, we're gonna put some engines on these. 3 of these will have engines on them. Just so we get a little extra boost of power there. Let's see. I want to make sure that these are spread equally, okay. As for when they would fire, up at the top. Okay, they're in the right spot then. Good. And actually put them where they need to be at, based on the other stages. Good. That always doesn't always work. All right, let's go ahead and try and launch this thing. Alright then. Shoot a moon. Or, well, to the moon station, I guess, technically. And these are asparagus staged on the bottom here. I'm going to try and pull the prograde node down to where we're at. So that'll indicate we're actually changing the orbit that way. Again, it's all about trying to get a very efficient orbit. So the more fuel we save, the better off we'll be. Tiny bit wobbly, but we're not too bad. We need to get our apoapsis above the... Still, it's not going to be quite as efficient as I'd like it to be. Well, then again, maybe it is. You see the periapsis is already almost out, and we're still building the apoapsis up. This actually could be a fairly efficient orbit, actually. Efficient meaning that we get to an actual orbit without the apoapsis being so far out. So when the apoapsis gets really out, that's because you put too much speed on. We're trying to get the periapsis out. At this point where we're here now, that's pretty good. That means we've burned at the right areas, the right amount of time, the right amount of force to kind of get it somewhat a somewhat pretty clean orbit going. I do want to come back down below the horizon marker because I want to try and push the periapsis up more than the apoapsis out. Another good way to do that is to actually go to the apoapsis node. And then to, of course, we'll have to wait till we get to 70K. Oh, we're already almost there. Good. I just want to go ahead and swing over prograde, and then once we get kind of close to it, we'll swing ourselves down below the horizon. Let's try 15. Just want to get to about 80. Yeah, it's a pretty clean orbit. Nice. Alright, Moon, where are ya? There you are. So, it's right about there, so probably over here somewhere. And there we have it. That'll be good enough, I think. Alright, set over the maneuver node. I'm actually going to burn this one at 20 seconds. I want to see if we start a little bit later on these longer burns, if that makes them a little more accurate or not. The one we did the other night, that 4-minute burn, or it wasn't a 4 minute, maybe it was 2 minute. Whatever one it was that I did on the previous stream that turned out pretty good. I think it was like on started on like 20 or 15 or something instead of 10. So we'll see if we can duplicate that. Okay. Four, three, two, one. Got a bit of speed to add on though. So we're going to end up probably burning about 4,000-ish, well, 4,800 and 3,900, respectively, of our resources here. That still leaves us with a hell of a lot. Well, then we got to do the inclination burn and all that stuff, so we should still have about 40 to 30% if we don't screw it up. Somewhere along the line. All right. And there we go. Actually, a little bit more efficient than what it had. Yeah, that was pretty. It was going to be pretty close. So if we burned out that last 0.5 seconds, got about 60% of our fuel left. Good. The whole point of this exercise is to use as little fuel as possible. Just need to be able to transfer most of it over to the moon station. I haven't tried docking with the sky crane attached with this thing yet, so it should be another interesting little thing. So I'll change the center of gravity on the station. Alright, so I want to swing over near the PE node. I just want to pull it in. The further in you can get, the better, actually, because when we start doing the inclination burn, we're going to be pushing it out a bit. And it'd be good to kind of be able to use that to actually shift us back out, instead of having to shift us back in. Now, you're wasting the fuel either way, but I think it's harder to pull it back in than to send it out, because you have to burn off the speed that you put onto it. It's harder to slow down the momentum than to build it. Try and make this pretty... Actually, let's keep going. We'll bring in the PE node first. Probably around 200k should do good. We could also get rid of the scan sats too. We don't need them anymore around the moon. We've got all the data. So we could terminate those. We got plenty of time. Yeah, no, we've got all the biome data. That's Kerbal with the moon. Yeah, so we can get rid of this. Alright, let's go and set our target to the moon station here. And we'll set up on this sending node. So if you ever swing around really fast like that, you know that you have in there a 0 somewhere. Actually, what I'd also like to do with this... Nah. We can bring it a little bit, but I want to set up the whole thing later on somewhere. Actually, no, it did screw up our orbital, our inclination a bit, didn't it? Yeah, let's do one thing at a time. The inclinations are easy to screw up, so I tend to do them on their own as far as maneuvers go. This makes it easier that way. Gonna maybe be a little bit off since we started late, but should be pretty close. Pretty close, yep. I'll take it. So let's go ahead and set up a node. Promise we'd never get around to that second intercept point. It's too steep. I think the issue is going to be here. We'll just need to there we go. That's pretty. Actually, that's almost perfect. I still don't quite understand when warp to next maneuver and shows them when it doesn't. It's kind of annoying. Somehow managed to stop it in time. Damn, we almost blew by it. Alright, let me go to the maneuver node. Got another short maneuver. It's going to be a couple seconds. At least that's what it says right now. Might change as we start burning. On longer ones, they suggest it's been suggested that you just burn a little bit. At like about 30 seconds or so before, to just kind of update it a bit, because I guess it changes things around a little. I don't know. Let's warp into there. I mean, I've seen it happen. It's just I don't know what kind of benefit that would be really. All right. We got pretty close. All right, so Gonna warp to there, and we'll swing retro. And really, our distance is pretty close to where it is right now. So we can just slow down right now. That's just the closest point we are in this orbit. It's not really that much of a difference, really. 100 meters or so. Okay, 300 meters. But again, that's not much. So we're pretty much dead stopped. Yeah, stopped at almost an exact orbit with that thing right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our CS for quick. Just do a couple. Oh no, it is the other way. I don't know, whatever. We're going to swing towards the target. Yes. We'll just deal with it. Not sure why we're... Oh, because we're going too slow. That's why. Retro isn't a thing. In fact, retro is pretty much on target, so... So I'm going to start burning towards it. So we got 7.7 km to go, so we'll start us off at 80 meters a second. Or thereabouts. I'm gonna do that to start with. Let's get flung around here and get ready to slow down. So we actually have about a half our fuel left. That's pretty good. It's the most I've ever had at this point. These extra engines helped a bit. You'd think they would drain the fuel more, but they actually gave us more thrust without that much more fuel consumption, so we managed to get here faster. That was a pretty good idea, actually. That, and we did a pretty good orbit as well. Pretty fuel-efficient orbit. Okay. So unlike the Sky Crane dock last time, this is going to be... So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Still got another 580 to burn in here, so... Well, technically to fly in. It's not really burning at the moment. To momentum in. Gotta figure out which side we're on. This looks like it might be the reverse side. I think the Sky Crane's on the side closest to the moon. That's what's it looking like right now. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to come to a pretty complete stop. Then we're going to want to start pitching around to line up with one of the ports. Still got some distance to travel yet. Let's do more. We're still going in pretty fast. 1 meter a second should be good for now. So looks like we've got a port over here. Oh, and I can actually... Nice, I've already got it set. Cool. That'll help tremendously. So... That's good. That's a good place to stop at right here. So let's burn off the rest of our speed. Actually, we're going. Let's see. I think the other speed we have is going in a different direction. Yeah, that's it. So what we want to do is we want to get in a little closer. This is actually still too far. I think we want to go into about 80 meters. We'll get us close enough to be able to figure out where we need to line up to. Just don't want to come in too quick. I'm liking where we're at right now, kind of, angle-wise, and distance-wise, this way, whatever axis that is. Oh, crap, wrong button. Let's go and kill off our speed. So we want to kind of swing ourselves around this way. That's actually kind of good, to be honest. I think we can push in from here. So I think the next stopping point will probably be around 45 meters. I want to slow down to maybe 2.2.1 meters a second if we can. We're starting to drift a little bit more this way, I think. Now we got to go way, way down. This thing is so big it's hard to maneuver around it with the camera. back off a little bit if I can. We're not lined up at all this drawing. We're like coming in sideways. If I zoom out a bit, you can kind of see what's going on here. That's not what we want. So what we need to try and do is try and throw ourselves out around this way. Right now I'm just worried about our positioning on this axis here. I'll worry about the other one later. Alright. So to be honest... Oh no, that is a bit low, isn't it? Oh my god, I'm hitting the wrong keys now, big time. Oh my freaking god. Okay, there we go. Man, this is insane trying to do this massive ship. So much momentum you build up. You kind of have to account for. Alright, let's try pushing in. Really slowly. Come on. Connect. Yes. Awesome. That that was kind of hard. That wasn't too bad though. I didn't send careening off or anything. And now we actually have two different vessels docked up with our moon station at the same time. First time for that. Alright, so this is going to be refueling. So I think the first thing we'll do is the monopropellant. We got one of those tanks. So you have to right click it, and then you have to hold shift and right click on the one you want to. Whoa, crap. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. We're going to the tracking station. Then we're coming back into there, and we're gonna thank God for the Kerbal joint reinforcement system, because without that, that would have flown apart like you wouldn't believe. Okay, don't hit shift. Pro tip. Well, not so pro tip. So I'm going to go to the refueler. Where the hell are you? Oh, no, Sky Crane too. So by coming out and going back into it, it'll reset all whatever was going on with that from me hitting the engines instead of the right key. It's actually Alt, I believe. Alt right click, not Shift right click. Yeah. Okay, that almost went horribly, horribly wrong. Alright, so let's get our propellant tank back up and then Alt right click. And it's already, that one's pretty much full. So it's not so bad. This though, well, depends on what we have to fill on this. But we'll just go ahead and fill it up all the way. Stop. Alright, now let's go ahead and fill up the top section first. So we can actually do a little trick here. We'll click on this one and then we'll click on these, right click on these. Now what we can do is just hit N on this one, and we'll pull it in from these. So I really don't care about draining these all the way. We're not gonna. Well, we should leave a little bit in actually. We should leave a little bit in. So, well, no, actually we don't need to. That's true because we're just gonna. Well. Yeah, we'll undock, and then we'll use the thrusters, the RCS thrusters, to push it away from the station, so it's not part of it anymore, and we can actually just terminate the flight from the tracking center. So let's just go with all the fuel that we can put into this thing. You brought all this fuel up, so might as well use it to do what it was meant for, which is powering this friggin' thing. Okay, let's fill this one next because we need to try and keep them a little bit balanced. So, whoops. Pin that so it doesn't go away. Whoops. And that's when we need to refuel, or once this thing's out of fuel. We've got a whole 2 middle sections that are going to have tons of fuel in them still, and we can use that to fuel up this from here. Without having to take anything out of the station. The station's going to be completely full now. Or almost so. I guess we can unpin that. Can finish fueling that from that one. So now the station's fully refueled. Now what we'll do is same thing. Except these guys. And these guys are pretty much bone dry. We used a lot of fuel getting the rovers onto the moon and then getting this back up. We'll not have to do that much burning in the future. Alright, so out. As you can see, actually, it's not filling up that much, to be honest. Of course, we are filling them up from one tank with just a little bit left to 6 tanks, so there is that. Because it tries to, as much as possible, spread it out evenly along all the tanks that you're fueling. So this thing is going to start drifting a little bit, just swaying a little bit because of the fuel exchange. This is going to be really light now, so any kind of movement while it's on its orbit's going to affect it a little bit. Alright, let's go ahead and dump all that out. We are still going to have to fuel it from the station though, aren't we? I don't know all these RCS. They should still be pretty full. Yeah. So actually, since we've pretty much exhausted everything, actually, let's go ahead and do that. Let's fill up the RCS with this. I mean, it's not. They don't need much, but at the same time, it's better to use it from here. See if I can select as many of these as possible. Oh hell, I right-clicked all of them, didn't I? Crap. You need to not right-click one of them in order for that to show up. Alt right-click, I should say. You have to right-click one as a source or a destination, and then you have to select the ones you want to use for the other end of the connection with the alt right-click. Well, no, maybe we got too many tanks. Maybe that's it. Because it did go off there once we got too many, I think. Yeah, refueling this is going to be a nightmare for the monopropellant. All these little tanks on here that we've got to select, figure out what's full and what's not. And some of these tanks we're not going to be able to get to either very easily. Like this tank in here. Don't even know how to get to that. That's kind of a design flaw, to be honest. Oh, I can just catch the edge of it. If I'm lucky. And on the right angle. Well, that's good enough. Everything's fueled up. Oh, we have the middle sections for fuel as well. Yeah. Actually, no, it's not fueled up, is it? Not at all. Forgot all about that. These did not get fueled up at all. Well, not enough anyway. I'm thinking there should be enough fuel on this thing if we just do landings from here with stuff for at least 3 or 4 trips. Because we spent a lot of most of the fuel we spent on this stage was getting up to the moon and in orbit around getting the inclination set up and then getting down there and back up to this thing, doing the inclination burn again, doing the rendezvous burn. Takes up a lot of damn fuel. So we should get quite a few trips out of this sky crane before we have to refuel again. And we are going to pretty much drain the station again, I think so. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Maybe I selected something that couldn't have fuel transferred to it. Because that happened again with those and there wasn't nearly as much selected. I think that's what happened. Maybe I right-clicked on a wing or something by accident, or a strut or something. The game was like, why you tried to refuel struts? Alright, so we finally got those damn tanks filled. Now we've got these 2 other sections here of fuel. That's monopropellant. It's these 2. Still, we got maybe about 40%, maybe 50% full with what we got left. Yeah, about 50. Actually, maybe 60 even. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure we have this set to... let's say control from this docking port. Well, we'll just undock, and I should have... If I need to, I can alt-click to take control of this. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just going to hit on the RCS, hit on the SAS. Now we're just going to work our way back a bit. Got all that fuel in there, we're just like booking it. Yeah, look at that. We're going like 5 or 6 meters a second just on the RCS thrusters. That is crazy. Okay, so let's go to the tracking center. We will end this flight and get the refueler out of there. And that'll probably be it for this stream tonight. So, well, I guess we could try sending up one of those new base sections. Nah, maybe not. We'll save it for next time. I want to get some more work done on UE4 before the stream tomorrow. You can kind of see how the orbit's changing now because of that speed we put on it. Yeah, this is what we want. That's the moon station. Well, sky crane. So, refueler. you are done. Oh wait, hit cancel. There aren't any crew in here, are there? Let me fly it just to be sure. It'd be kind of annoying to kill Valentina at this point, after not having crashed into the moon or moon missing killed her. So let's make sure there isn't anybody on here. I'm pretty sure there isn't. I'm almost certain. Oh yeah, no, there isn't a. I was thinking of the other section. There's on the refueler. There's no command pod. On the other sections, on the base course sections, there are though. Alright, so we can go ahead and safely terminate that. And we'll end the stream. Probably for the stream tomorrow, probably sometime around 7 or 8. And what we'll work on is going to be the inventory screen, and also if I haven't gotten that done by the time I stop for tonight working on that, or the shop menu as well. Those will be the two things we'll work on. Yeah. Alrighty then. Cool. So, thanks for tuning into the stream. If you watched it live or live on Twitch or YouTube, or if you're watching it afterwards on YouTube, comments, questions, leave them below. Would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you tomorrow.